Welcome back to the channel. My name's Adrian and today I'm talking about Masters of Fables, which is an existing Polish role-playing game that is specifically designed for players and, well, let's say families with children from sort of 4 to 10. Can go slightly over, so as you imagine, it's a rules-like game. So you can see on the shelf behind me, I've got 3 of the existing core books, so the core rulebook and a couple of adventure settings that are in Polish that obviously I can't read. I don't read English too well, so actually my education trying to pick up foreign languages was really difficult. But Marcin has nicely sent me the English version, and I'll put a link in the video description of where you can go and download that free copy as well, so you can read it and actually try it out with your children. So why am I talking about a Polish role-playing game? The main reason for that is it's launching on Gamefound very soon, and we want your support and we want your help. Because Gamefound likes followers. The more followers you get, the sooner a project can launch. But also, this is going to give you access to gold coins that will be included for physical copying backers. And the more followers we get, the more gold coins will be included. I will put a link to it in the video description, but I'm also going to go through and show you what's included. Then towards the end of the video, I will also show you the core rulebook that's coming out and take you through the rules, how the game plays. So it will be the free version of it. Obviously, again, since starting to talk about this, I haven't suddenly learnt Polish, so I can't go through the hardback copy of the rulebook that I've got here. So it will just be the light book. But before I get into the Gamefound, I want to show you some of the stuff that's going to be included, and then I'll show you it. So I'm just going to jump to the overhead camera here. And Marcin was incredibly generous. This big folder and envelope turned up. I was expecting a book, but no, he actually sent me a load of characters. So this is what the players are going to be able to play with on the maps. And what I like about them is they're wooden, but also, as you can see, they're well designed. So the kids are going to be able to colour them in. This is a really interactive game. It does encourage use of colouring books and things. The game, so we're going to get 6 of those. We've got all these coins as well, which the player characters, or your children, as it may well be, or your pupils, if you are a teacher or educator, they're going to be able to use these to actually manipulate the dice rolls. The game itself, let me just take these out, comes, well, with a ton of d6. It's a rules simple d6 game. You are rolling d6 based on one of 3 different attributes. You may have a talent which is going to add to it, and you're looking at 4+. 4+ gives you a success. So here we go. Here's a 6 is going to give me a success. What these coins do is if you rolled a 3, I can give the Games Master the coin, and I can turn that into a 4, which becomes a success. So these are like a cool little meta currency. And if you're a fan of my channel, you're fully aware that I do like things like Modiphius's 2d20 system and Savage Worlds, because players love being given coins by the Games Master to spend for doing stuff. And the players are going to get rewarded for doing good role playing. So they're going to get more coins, and you just keep giving them coins, and then they can spend their coins to change the dice from failures to successes, which is going to give really, well, children, they're going to really like that. You know, the fact that the dice may fail them, but if they've done something good, they can give these in and be rewarded by succeeding the dice roll. So that's a really cool mechanic. And then the last bit I will send, let me just put these in here, is, so we're going to get a deck of cards as well. Now, this is a Polish deck of cards, but it's going to cover all the styles and all the equipment in here. It's all going to come with its unique art. And obviously, if you can speak Polish, or you want to learn it quite quickly, you can work out what this is. This is some sort of crown, so I'm guessing those 2 words there may represent crown in Polish. Obviously, this is all being translated, hence the reason for coming on to Gamefound. But this is such a wonderful project. I love the thought of people actually creating games designed specifically for children and educators and things like that, to sort of, you know, I've learned, and people I talk to have learned so many useful skills in life from role playing. And obviously, if I'd had access to it at an earlier age, maybe some of my dyslexic issues and problems wouldn't be as well as affected me as they did throughout school. So let's just jump over then, and I'll show you the Gamefound page. So this is what we're looking at. So what I'm asking everyone to do, just go and follow this, because we're going to get some more. So more followers mean more coins included for everyone. And who doesn't like more coins? So we've got 3 days, well, just over 4 days at time, or sorry, just under 4 days at time of recording for launch. And obviously you're going to get these free coin gifts here. So this will just give you an idea of, this is nice actually, because the game does say it wants you to have crayons there, the children or player characters, so I'm going to refer to them in this video, are going to be, they can draw their own characters. There's certain aspects where the actual rule books also feel very much like colouring books as well. So it's going to allow the players to sort of engage in the world that they're building. Some standard questions and answers, but you can go through that themselves. Or from a language point of view, it's being done in English, German, and obviously Polish, because they're going to do it in larger print. But it does say here that French and Spanish are going to be some of the stretch goals. So the more people we can get onto this project, the more nations are actually going to make this, it's going to be a lot more accessible. So it's designed for sort of 2 to 8 players, 90-minute play. You're not going to want to play a sort of 2-3 hour session with children. Not at that sort of age, I don't think. But yeah, the idea is cooperative, family, TTRPG ticks. But you're going to see this artwork throughout, and the artwork does replicate exactly, well, these replicate the artwork for the little figures in here. So, I've got a dice bag as well. I was pretty much sent what is actually going to come in. It's when you just get something, you think, I was completely expecting a book. But so it's 160 pages. The core rulebook's going to be, you're going to get 30 different dice in a bag, 12 different heroes, 4 scenarios, 120 cards, 12 luck coins, and 100 illustration. This video here to go and watch. Actually, there's several videos on here that I would recommend that people watch. But here, Master of Fables, incredible game for children aged 5 to 10. I think I said 4. So I apologise. It is actually 5 to 10. But even if you're a little bit older, you could use. I showed this to my 15-year-old daughter, and she loved the art style. I'm still yet to get my children in. I think there is an adventure included in this book, and actually this video runs through the adventure, which is called, so the adventure is called The Rat King. And I think it might be a little bit young for my daughter, and especially my son, who's just about to turn, my sort of youngest son, who's about to turn 16. So I could do it. I could run it through them. It's a really light system, but I'm still too scared to sort of get that rejection of asking my kids to play a game with me. So they're going to need more followers. Gamefound does work on followers, and the more followers you get, the sooner projects can start. But so we are sat at, there's over 500 followers. If we can get to 1,000, we're going to get 10 coins for everyone that backs this. Okay, so this is just going to give you an idea. So every adventure has a goal. So, and when you are creating adventures, one thing to be mindful of is, because this is a game for children, it is designed around no combat. So there are things that are going to happen, and I'll talk about that through once we get to, when I'm going through the rule book on how you do it. But everything's designed to be peaceful, and the children need to resolve things through communication, which is really important, because, one thing as a parent, we should be teaching our children that if a conflict happens, then it doesn't automatically resolve in violence. It should resolve through talking. And I like that. And it's done over not necessarily one test. It can be a series of tests to manage to, it's like a friendship check. It's called, that you're trying to sort of convince the players, the player character, NPC, sorry, to join and become friends. So they're not all going to be mindless beasts, and there are actually, I don't want to spoil the adventure, no I won't, but there are things that you wouldn't expect to become your friend, that the player characters will work together to become friends. And one of the biggest things is, set on the land of heroes, because the player characters are designed to be heroes. I think the first thing in character creation is called create your heroic name, which, children, especially children, love heroic fantasy and that sort of thing. They're still into the magic of heroism. So it's really designed to sort of push that in there as well. So a little bit of an adventure here sort of runs through details about the land of heroes and the background, but obviously young heroes have a ton of cool professions. So we've got wizards, knights, wanderer, healer, forest keeper, or singer. There's only 3 included in the book that you can get for free at the moment, but it has got, it sort of implies, like it says here, you can become a mermaid, ninja princess, or anything else. So the main book is going to allow you, or the players, to create whatever heroes they want to be. So here's just the 12 different sort of how they're going to look in the game. So the rules of the game is really light. You just roll in. It's for anyone that is an existing role player. You're basically taking a skill and an attribute, combining that dice pool, rolling a number of d6, and any 4s will give you a success. And normally 1 success is enough. It really encourages teamwork as well, because as well as spending your coins to manipulate the dice, teamwork will do exactly the same. So if someone's helping you, they're going to give you an automatic +1 to one of the die. And I think that's probably one of the most important things you kind of learn from role playing early on. The ability to communicate and talk well, but also teamwork, how working with others helps you achieve goals together. So 3 basic stats: strength, mind, dexterity, each represented by a different color die. I think strength was red, mind is blue, and dexterity is green, but obviously you can have whichever color that you want. It just keeps it nice and clear and simple for children, which is always going to help them pick up the game. Here we go. 4 to 6 automatically succeeds. So that's it. Strength is doing things like jumping, swimming, lifting. Mind is handy for searching for objects, hidden doors. Also, it doesn't say here. Oh, it does say, yeah, casting spells, because the wizards do get spells. There's a d20 spells in the book that we're going to go through. And then we've got dexterity here: climbing, falling, jumping. So it's nice, rules light. For more videos, you can go and download the 3 book here as well, so you don't need to get it from DriveThruRPG. There's character sheets. The character sheets have got like this colouring bit for the children. There's loads of beasts and monsters included. They have got stats, and there will be an element of opposed checks to defeat them. But I say defeating them, all you're doing is making them like you. So it's not defeating in the way of physically fighting. But actually, I will mention it here. If you do get into a fight, then the NPCs are just going to automatically do a wound to the players, so that they will learn not to fight things. So here is the English version of some of the cards. So actually, the one that I showed is here. So I still can't read that first word. Diomede, is it, of charm? So an extra dice when befriending people. So if you want to play it back and then can work out what that is for Polish, you can learn some Polish too. See, education, that's me. 20 spell, different cards, because, yeah, so there's 20 spells. Like I said, it looks like there's going to be 20 spells in the main rule book. So Martin here is the author who's very kindly sent me this. And we've got some socials and stuff to go and back. But yeah, do follow this project. Say, it will be live in a few days. I can't say exactly when, but let's go and have a look at what's included in the core rulebook. So we've got educational role-playing game. This is 46 pages of PDF that's going to include, a chunk of which is a sort of one-shot adventure that I think probably take you about an hour to 2 hours. I've watched through the video when I was walking the dogs. Of the playthrough that's on the channel. So yeah, I think there's about an hour, 40 minutes, somewhere around there. So this isn't hyperlinked, but it's a free giveaway book. So but it's something that I like my hyperlinks, but it's going to take you through the introduction, why children should roleplay, the basics of the game, character creation, the spell list, the game rules. What's the game rules? 2 pages basically. How to befriend people, which is 3 pages. That's all the rules of the game across 7 pages. And then we've got the adventure. This book also has an amazing amount of examples of everything. So I would say the most complicated part of it is the befriending, but there's a great example that if you don't kind of get it straight away, actually there's 3 examples of the befriending. You can just look at the three examples and you go, yeah, I've completely and utterly got this. As basics, it talks about the introduction into role-playing. So what will role-playing do, and what sort of skills and things that a player's going to learn? So, for example, I think as an experienced games master and player, I probably take these for granted, but I speak at length on the skills and self-confidence and things it gives me, and it addresses it here. Self-confidence, learn to work as a team, make independent decisions, boost intelligence, imagination, use facts to support their arguments, solve problems without violence. And yet the whole family can come in and say, this looks very much like you could use this as a colouring book if you needed to or if you wanted to. Why should you do role-playing games with your children? So you can teach them interpersonal social skills, interpersonal emotional intelligence, linguistic skills, logistic mathematical intelligence, and visual spatial intelligence. And also, from a dyslexic point of view, the confidence to read and read out loud. Without role-playing for me and having this channel, I would not be able to read back to the level that I can. I look at some of the early videos that I did on this channel and I just could not read. It was really difficult, but now I'm up to, I'm still slow, but the more you read, it's a skill, the better that you become at it. And, it's going to help your children. Why children's games should not contain violence. It should be obvious why children's games should not contain violence. They see enough violence on TV screens, cartoons, Disney Plus, whatever. And we're not talking, full 18 plus type movie violence, but violence is everywhere. But it is very important because, especially at a younger age where, some children bite and slap and things like that, and, they don't know how to control their temper. This will teach children that, because especially if they do think violence is the answer, there is no fighting mechanic in the game and they're automatically going to take a wound. And when they take a wound, that means they're then at -1 difficulty to everything that they do until they rest or heal. They're going to think, actually, violence has impact. And for obvious reasons, you want to teach children to talk through issues, problems, convince people to like them, as opposed to beat them down to make people like them. It's a fairy tale world, so it can be whatever fantasy world that you want, but there is a definite good versus evil vibe in this, and they definitely want the players to be heroic. And what is required for a session? So there's a little bit more required for a session in this because it's a very tactile game. It is, say, the coins and the figures that they're going to be playing and moving around, little maps and stuff. But it also wants you to have colouring pencils or pens to colour in the character sheets. You can have blocks and different tables and surfaces and things like that. Obviously, you're going to need dice, but if you go full in, you're going to get everything that you're going to pretty much need just to get going for this, other than the colouring pens. Characterization is very simple. I said earlier, first step, heroic name. Go and find some heroic name. But then just say, put the profession at the end. So, if you want to be, this isn't heroic. I nearly said Dennis then. I don't know why. Dennis isn't, it doesn't have heroic vibe sounds to it. But, and I say that because my granddad was a Dennis. But he was a bloody good hero to me. But put the class after it. So pick your profession. There are only 3 professions in here, or 6, depending if you count wizard and sorceress as sort of the male and female versions of here. So we've got wizard and sorceress, wanderer and wanderess, and knight and knightess. Wizard is obviously the magical person. So all of these professions are going to have some starting equipment, which the players will write down, a specific talent, and then abilities. Okay, so very simply, equipment, things they've got: hat, quill, pen, talent, the ability to cast spells. We'll look at spells in a second. And then abilities. So this gets components, mind, trick, helping. And the letter after them represents mind, dexterity, or the S here for strength. So which colour die that they're going to be rolling. Simple as that. And these abilities just add +1 die to it. So technically, think of them as skills. The wanderer, wanderess is basically an adventurer and explorer. They're going to get things like a spyglass, lockpick, but they get the survivalist talent. They're going to get an extra die when searching, swimming, jumping, or climbing. And then finally, you get the brave, heroic knight here, that their talent is unbreakable courage. They're going to get 1 extra dice when they take on a challenge as a first. Okay, we then get a nice explanation of the terms are used. Then if you want to make your own profession, it just gives you an idea of certain powers or talents that the players are going to have. The next step is sorting out the dice. So strength is, as I said before, strength, jumping, swimming. Lifting, mind is for mental stuff and magic abilities. Then dexterity, running, climbing, and falling. So strength is red, mind is blue, dexterity is green. I think that's slightly different to what I said earlier. And again, an example of how they work. But as a general, if you've got 1 dot in strength, you're going to get to roll 1 red dice. If you've got 2 dots in it, you're going to get 2. If you've got a skill, so let's just go back to a strength skill. So building is an S skill. So if the player has got 2 in strength and the building talent at 1, so that gives them 3 dice, they're just going to roll 3 die. And 4 or more gives them a success. There are certain abilities they're going to get. Say these abilities add to the dice pool, and this just explains them here. So building, we'll just use because that's the one I was using. So building something for the opponent, or building something in front of him. So anything to do with building or creating, you're going to get to use that additional die. Here's the character sheet. So we've got traits here, which is your stats that are all going to start at 1. You've got your skills in here, friendship dice, which we'll explain, backpack. You need the crayons because kids are going to want to draw exactly what's in their backpack, and then these sort of items and things. And then finally, they can colour themselves in. Magic. Magic is, so you're going to be doing your mind roll to achieve it. And the one thing it does, you can cast a spell whenever you want. You can only do 1 per round. Once 1 spell has been cast, you're going to do a 10-minute timer, and then they can't cast a spell again. Okay. Now, spells are quite simple. You just need to succeed and get over a 4. However, if you fail, the spell doesn't work, and then you will do a random d20 roll to determine which spell actually goes off instead. So nothing bad really happens to the player. It's just that something different is going to happen. So initially they're going to get 1 spell. So you'd roll a d20 or let them pick one of the spells. So they might pick here 15 monkey agility. The target of the spell receives +2 to dex checks. But they may end up not passing that roll, and then you roll a d20 to see what spell comes on. You roll a 1, and then they become a mermaid. The target of the spell turns into a mermaid. So that's not going to be really helpful if you're casting a spell to try and climb a wall, if your legs are suddenly replaced by fish tail. But that's the fun. So it's not going to be like a punishment to the children for failing the roll, but you're still going to have some good fun with things like that happening. And then 10 minutes later, they can try and recast it again. 4 good examples here about how spell casting works. Then we're going to get into the game rules, which I've pretty much explained, other than the luck points. Say these luck points, which are the coins, which can add a additional +1 to a roll. If all the luck points aren't spent at the end, players can just put a pool together at the end of the game, and then the end of the session, and then they can use them to go and buy things in the world, or have additional luck points in further sessions. Again, more examples on how it goes. Failures and injuries. So there is times where they may hurt themselves. So they may fail a swimming check and not drown necessarily, but swallow some water and stuff. So there are 2 different types of sort of damage the player's going to take. You've got wound damage, which is sort of physical damage, and shock damage, which is sort of more mental, poison, things like that. And when any of the players take 3 total damage, then they will fall unconscious, and they just need 8 hours sleep or a magical wound, magical healing to sort of pick them up and get them going again. But so any wounds that they take, physical wounds, they're going to be at -1 to all the dice. So if they roll a 5, they're technically getting a 4. Same with shock, and they are cumulative. So if you've got 1 wound and 2 shock, that would put the -3 penalty in, which would make the player character go unconscious. Okay, rules for befriending. So this is defeating or winning over the opponents. It is a very simple formula, but it sounds more complicated, but the examples clarified it for me quite easily. So befriending check is ability dice plus skill, so it's just the same as them, equals the number of dice rolled. And what you're trying to do is beat the befriending resistance. So weak monsters, you'll need 1 or 2 successes. Stronger monsters will be 3 or 4. And sort of big boss monsters are going to need 5 successes. So that's 5 each. So the players will roll their pool. You will get a number of successes, and then each success counts as a pass. So that would tick 1 box off. However, it's not quite as simple as that, because all the enemies get what's called a malice die here, which is basically half. So if this monster has a friendly resistance of 4, they're going to get half, so they get 2. So they're going to be rolling these to try and get 4s to just do an opposed check. So it just means that certain creatures are going to be harder to check and to beat. And every time they get a level amount or more, then you just tick off one of those, and then eventually you should befriend them. If they fail to befriend them because they don't pass enough rolls, then this just sort of just explains the impact that the players may need to go away, come back, and think of another way, alternative of doing it, and things like that. Okay, but that really actually we've got player evolution. So as time goes on and you befriend creatures, you will then get a friendship dice, and you'll end up getting between 1 to 3 per session. Okay, so just think of it like experience. So in a normal game, if you defeated something, you would get experience for sort of defeating that creature. So it's exactly the same. You're going to get a friendship dice, and then what you do with that friendship dice is you can then use it to raise traits or abilities. So the players can gain experience. So they're going to learn the nicer they are to people. The more they win over, the more friends that they get in the world, the actual more experience and enriching experience they're going to have that will make then befriending more people easier, because the more skilled they get, the friendlier they are, and the friendlier they are, the more dice they roll, and the more dice they roll, the more chance they've got of succeeding. So yeah, it's going to actually teach children how to behave well, if that makes sense. So example of befriending check here. So if what I've said sounds complicated, these 2 pages will just more than cover it off. And then we've got the adventure, which I'm not going to show. I'll show you a little bit of the art, but yeah, it says 60 to 90 minutes. It's called the Rat King. Hey, this king here summons them to help with the rat problem, and that's the adventure. There are rats that need fixing, so to speak. And finally, let's just have a quick look at the character sheet here. So here we go. I showed it earlier, but you've got your traits in here: name, heroic name, your talent in there, your abilities in here. So all the traits and abilities will go from 3. So the most you should be getting is 6 die in a pool, because even if people are helping you, that's going to give you +1 to the die result, not +1 die. Okay, and then spells are in here, and then finally you've got the equipment on the back page. Let me just rotate this one around as well. So there we go. And then the magic backpack. So if they're collecting items to help alongside the spells, as well as the friendship dice on each session, on and then what they've spent it on. So that's it. That's my look through of Master of Fables. I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. I say there's so much good stuff in here. Really excited to see actually what's included in the main book. So the book I've got is 46 pages. The core rule book's 120 pages it's going to include. So it's going to include more professions that we're going to get to see, and they're going to do different things. But it's a nice simple system, and I love the fact that this is a already successful business and success that's being used in Poland, that's now coming over here to the UK. It's going to be translated into German. Hopefully we hit the stretch goals to get it converted to French and Spanish as well. This is a great thing, I think, for parents and children, as well as educators. The schools. I love the fact this is actually ran in schools in Poland by teachers as well as parents to their children back home. I only wish my children were younger and I could do this with their kids, because having cards and dice and these little figures, it very much feels like Savage Worlds, but for children, which is a great feel. And actually, if you're a fan of the Free League system of rolling pools of D6, this is going to feel very familiar to anyone that does that as well. So Mercer, good luck with your project. Thank you so much for sending this over. Feel free to share this video where you like. If you've enjoyed the video, please like, share, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one. And I'm going to stop playing with these cards now. See you soon. Thank you.